Andrew Yang. Andrew Yang. Who is Andrew Yang? Current job, entrepreneur and 2020 presidential candidate. Age, 44. Family, Yang and his wife Evelyn have 2 young sons. Hometown, Schenectady, New York. Political party, Democratic. Previous jobs, corporate lawyer, healthcare startup entrepreneur, CEO of Manhattan Test Prep, founder and CEO of Venture for America. Who is Andrew Yang's direct competition for the nomination? Based on a recurring series of national surveys we conduct, we can figure out who the other candidates competing in Andrew Yang's lane are, and who the broader opponents are within the party. Business Insider has been conducting a recurring poll through SurveyMonkey audience on a national sample to find out how different candidates' constituencies overlap. We ask people whether they are familiar with a candidate, whether they would be satisfied or unsatisfied with that candidate as nominee, and sometimes we also ask whether they think that person would win or lose in a general election against President Donald Trump. Read more about how we're polling this here. What are Andrew Yang's policy positions on healthcare? Yang supports Medicare for all in a single-payer healthcare system where healthcare would be funded by the government as opposed to private insurance agencies. At the second Democratic debate in July, Yang said, "As someone who has run a business, I can tell you flat out our current healthcare system makes it harder to hire, it makes it harder to treat people well and give them benefits, it makes it harder to switch jobs, and it certainly makes it harder to start a business." He also wants to expand access to mental health services, advocating for an increase in providers serving rural areas, requiring insurance companies to cover postpartum depression screenings for new mothers, and incentivizing providers to use AI for more efficient healthcare. On immigration, Yang supports an 18-year path to citizenship for undocumented immigrants without criminal records who have lived in the United States for long periods of time. He also pledges to sign the DREAM Act into law, affording protection for undocumented people brought to the United States as children, and would expand the H-1B and F-1 visa programs to attract skilled immigrants. Yang also wants to invest in new technology to help secure the U.S. southern border, expand funding for Customs and Border Patrol, and reduce the backlog in U.S. asylum and immigration courts. On climate change, Yang supports U.S. government investment in cutting-edge technologies that could slow down the pace of climate change, like carbon capture and geoengineering. He would end federal government subsidies and tax breaks for fossil fuel companies, and tax carbon emissions. Yang would also direct the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, to collaborate with private companies and local governments on innovative solutions to climate change. At a September CNN Climate Forum, Yang emphasized ensuring that all Americans have clean and pollution-free water to drink, on campaign finance, election reform, on abortion, on LGBTQ rights, on education, on guns. On Yang's campaign website, he presents a detailed plan to create a new, multi-tiered licensing system for firearms similar to the different levels of automobile licenses. These would require universal background checks. He would also introduce a federal weapons buyback program for those who want to surrender their weapons. Yang wants to create uniform federal safety standards and incentivize gun manufacturers to innovate new gun safety technology. On criminal justice reform. On trade, in an interview with the Basic Income Earth Network, Yang criticized the Trump administration for waging a trade war with China, saying it was not productive and causing headaches for businesses. On foreign policy, Yang would embody a non-interventionist style of foreign policy, saying on his campaign website that he would repeal the authorization for the use of military force, fully returning the power to declare war to Congress. He also says he would focus on strengthening America's relationships with its NATO allies and beef up the State Department's diplomacy efforts and outreach. On taxes, on jobs and the economy, the policy Yang is best known for is his Freedom Dividend, a universal basic income program that would give $1,000 per month to every American adult and would be funded in part by taxes on companies that benefit the most from automation. Yang supports expanding vocational and technical training for students, and a program where the IRS would reimburse relocation expenses for people who have to move to find jobs. He would also create an American Journalism Fellows program that would give reporters grants to work at a local news outlet and report on local stories for 4 years. At the second round of Democratic debates in July, Yang said, "So many people feel like the economy has left them behind. We have to say, look, there's record high GDP and stock prices. But you know what else is record high? Suicides, drug overdoses, and anxiety." The way we win this election is we redefine economic progress for the people here in Michigan and all of us, on technology. Some of Yang's other unique policy proposals include paying NCAA college athletes, providing free marriage counseling for all, and creating an exchange program for high school students to spend time in different parts of the country and meet people they otherwise wouldn't. What are Andrew Yang's biggest successes? In the mid-200s, Yang was the CEO of elite test prep company Manhattan GMAT, which he and his partners sold to Kaplan in 2009. Yang went on to create Venture for America, a program that sends college graduates to work at startups in cities hit especially hard by the financial crisis. According to Yang, VFA's 500 fellows and alums have created more than 2,500 jobs in cities all around the country. Yang received a Champion of Change award from the Obama White House in 2012, and was named a Presidential Ambassador for Global Entrepreneurship in 2015. He's also made the Fast Company list of the 100 most creative people in business. How much money has Andrew Yang raised? Yang disclosed raising $659,578 between October of 2017 and December of 2018, but Yang's fundraising took off after he appeared on the Joe Rogan Experience and The Breakfast Club, a popular podcast and radio show, respectively. Yang reported raising $1.7 million from 80,000 donors who donated an average of just $17.92 in March and February alone, bringing his quarterly haul to $1.8 million. In 2019's second quarter between April 1st and June 30th, the Yang campaign reported raising $2.8 million, and has $848,000 cash on hand. Yang has also secured the required 130,000 unique donors to qualify for the next round of primary debates in September. How is Andrew Yang viewed by voters compared to the competition? Insider has conducted a number of other polls to check in on how these candidates are perceived in comparison to one another. When we asked respondents to one poll to rank how far to the left or to the right they considered the candidates, Yang was generally considered to be one of the more centrist candidates in the field. Owing to his outsider perspective, Yang was identified one of the least experienced candidates in the field by far when we asked respondents to rank the candidates based on how prepared they are for the rigors of the presidency given what they knew about their history of public service and experience with government. And when asked how likable or personable respondents perceived the candidates to be, Yang was in the middle of the pack. Could Andrew Yang beat Trump? Yang is considered by Democrats, who know of him, to be a weaker candidate against President Trump, polling projected to lose more often and win less often than a standard competitor. How do Democratic voters feel about Andrew Yang's qualifications? Insider has conducted polling about how voters feel about candidate attributes or qualifications. We asked respondents about a list of possible qualifications and if they made them more likely or less likely to vote for a candidate for president. For example, among respondents who said they'd vote in the Democratic primary, 19% said a candidate being a college professor made them likelier to support them, while 4% said it made them less likely to, for a 15% net favorability. We can then see how different candidates' resumes stack up compared to those preferences. Attributes perceived as most valuable include he is multilingual, 25%, age 50 or younger, 23%, a child of immigrants, 21%, and a lawyer, 3%. Attributes considered to be a liability based on the preferences of self-reported Democratic voters include his past as a business owner, -11%, that he spent little time in government, -22%, was a corporate lawyer, -33%, and grew up wealthy, -42%. Read more of our best stories on Andrew Yang. Let's block ads. Why?